Sorry. Yeah, just let us know.
So the squad from the 146th, they'll present the flag to Maggie.
On behalf of the President of the United States Air Force, and the great nation, I present to you our nation's flag with a faithful and dedicated service to your husband. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor.
firing party. Take pumps. Ready, up. Ready, face. Roll up. Roll up. Roll up. Present.
I'm holding a card here that Blue sent me while I was after I'd had some surgery. Thank you so very much for the QB dinner Monday evening. 50 or 60 guys showed up. Chris gave us 2 flybys, both in great formation. It was great. Get well soon. And this was from Blue. And I will treasure it. And I'm sure there's other stories, if you care to come forward and say a few things. Hi. Hi. And one of our favorite girls, Mary Sykes. Excuse me.
Hi, everyone. I've known Blue since I was a little girl. And one story I do remember, you probably were around too, Brent. When I was at Budwell in Aviation learning how to fly, before John Kraz. I'm just kidding, I really wasn't. We were kind of the same time we were learning. But anyways, it was a day that I had to solo. I don't know if the yellow bench is still over there. For anybody that solos, their instructor gets out and sits on the yellow bench and watches you take off and land. So unbeknownst to me, my dad, Blue, Mosey, a few other guys were here. There goes Clay landing. I don't know if it was on a Wednesday, but they were flying. And Bud I had done one takeoff and landing, and then he pulled me over to the side of the taxiway and he said, I'm getting out and you're going by yourself. And I was like 16, 17 years old. No, I was so scared. And so I did it. My palms were sweating. I was sweating. So when I landed, I was so excited. And then I, asked the tower, can I get on the taxiway? Yep. Then I hear my dad and I'm on the radio, and he said, we saw you, Mary. You did great. We're so proud of you. And I could hear all the squadron guys yelling. And I heard Blue. I heard Mosey. So that's a big memory for me. And another thing is Blue was, of course, an airline pilot, and I was a flight attendant. So we had a lot of stories about our trips out and about at work. And he was such a gentleman, such a good man, and he was so good to my sister. My sister adored him. We all adored him. So for me, growing up at the squadron, I've known these men since I was a little girl. So I watched them when they were handsome to me, and then they got older, and they were still handsome to me. So Blue was just a gentleman, and my dad just adored him. And being here is, every time I come here, I feel like I'm about 14, 15 years old, because that's when I spent the most time here. My dad would schlep me out here, and I'd like assort screws and bolts for the airplane and trim those stupid roses, and then he'd buy me a treat. So, and Blue was always around, and it was just, it's a wonderful thing to be here, and it's a sad day for all of us, and we know he's in a better place, as hopefully we will all be there someday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. I have to tell you, she was a pretty good pilot. You and I went to Santa Paula once, I think. And she's a good aviator, aviatrix. Someone else would like to say something. I'm still picking on you, John. Ah, here we got it. Come up, Captain.
My name's Jim LaBelle, and I was with Western Airlines, and I didn't get close to Blue till after we all retired. But he used to invite me to come here to play in the golf tournaments and stuff like that. And one of my fondest memories is Blue gave me a ride in his T6. And we flew formation, and Ray Sparks was on our wing, and we went out here over the hills. And Blue says, "Why don't you try a roll?" So I said, "Okay." So I started this roll, and I got about halfway through it, and Blue grabbed a hold of the handlebars and said, "Hey, this isn't going to work. You'll end up in a split S." So I wasn't much of a good stick, but Blue was what you call a good stick, and that was his forte throughout his whole career. And he was one of the few guys that flew that Boeing 727 with style and class. Another guy that did the same thing is my friend Bob Fredericks here, another Western pilot. Do you have a few Blue things to add? Oh, he's camera shy. So I'll turn it over to somebody else that might have a better story.
Great story. Thank you, Captain. Well, it's got an open mic. As good as it is, as bad as it is, don't be bashful. Ah, John. T6 racer. Wonderful pilot. Never crashed.
Yeah, they cut Krasowitz. I've been around since 1974 and stuff, and was real good friends with Blue. Probably one of the few Condors who never actually flew with them. I was flying with everybody else, but I remember when I got checked out in the Citabria, I was out here on a Wednesday night, and we all gathered out here to fly on Wednesdays and stuff, and they all knew I was flying the Citabria. And anyways, I was landing in a quartering tailwind on the short runway and ended up losing the landing and going out through the grass and all the stuff, and had to park it and pull all the grass and all the stuff and clean off all the grass stains on the airplane. So anyways, I come back over here on this side, and Blue grabs me and takes me down to his airplane. I thought he was going to give me the fatherly pep talk about, we all do it. There's those who have and those who hadn't. But what Blue was actually doing was we went down there and he handed me his lawnmower and told me I was now qualified to cut his grass.
Oh, John, that's a great story, and I've never heard that story. Yeah, come on. Yeah, oh, we got somebody that beat on Blue's airplane a couple times. Come on, Mike.
The left engine working?
Have at it.
Well, I've been around the Condor Squadron since the day they put the words on the wall. But as far as airplanes go, I've been around airplanes. You got to count the engines before you get in them. And I came here and just one in the middle. This is great. You can do nothing the rest of the time. Well, I met Blue. And I found out if the Earth stopped rotating, I went the other way, Blue could care less, long as he got over to Santa Paula for his morning coffee and pie. So we always had something ready to throw in the airplane and go. And this one morning, Blue says, throw your chute in the front, and we'll go over there and have a little fun on the way. And everything was going good. And he even started showing me a few little extra fancy things, like hammerhead stalls and things. And Blue was very funny that way. He'd show you one of his pride and joy maneuvers. Now remember, Jake, don't ever do this with someone else in an airplane. And well, that's a hangover from when Blue was a captain in Plummet Airlines. But anyway, we just finished off with the bad stuff, a little bit out of the legal location even on occasion. And I come in, everything was going fine. It rolled to a stop over at Santa Paula, and I could tell Blue was ready to spring out. And, well, I did something I should have accomplished a bit earlier. I looked down at the landing gear lock, and the doggone thing wasn't in. And we were sitting there, and Blue was in the back seat and getting ready to throw one of those long legs of his over the side. I said, Blue, don't even breathe. And I tippy-toed out and got on the ground. And lucky as you wouldn't imagine, here's a little tug going by with a couple of guys hanging on it, headed for the coffee shack. And I yelled and hollered and to come over. And Blue's still trying to figure what in the world is going on. I just kept saying, don't move, don't move. And they come over and I told them the right gear on this airplane is not locked. I didn't shove the pin all the way. I'm a dummy. And so they got their backs under the wing, and I heard that real good sound, sort of like that. The pin went in. And I said, okay, Blue, you can move. And I made them wait till we got in the coffee shop before I explained what went wrong.
Thanks, Jake. And a long, older member of the Condor Squadron, Ross Deal out of Chino. Come on by. Come on down, Ross. And his beautiful wife, Marcia. Boy, she's getting better looking every time I see her.
Thank you, Brent. I had a T-28, and Blue called me up one day and he says, I have a chance to fly a T-28 and I need a letter of authorization. Can you help me? And I said, well, sure. I've got the authorization to sign you off and everything. Come on out. So he came out to Chino. We put him in my T-28A model and off we went. It took about, 30, 45 minutes, and this guy could fly it like he was born in it. So I said, let's land at Riverside there. So we landed at Riverside, parked in the back side of the FAA office there at Riverside. When we walked in the back door, no appointments necessary, nothing like that. Actually, we're greeted and hospitable. And I walked up to the counter and I says, can I talk to Mr. R.C. Morton, please? And they hollered for him, and he came out from out back. And we greeted him. I introduced him to Blue. And I said, R.C., Mr. Thrailkill here would like a LOA for a T-28 experimental. And R.C. reached down, pulled out a blank piece of paper, laid it on the desk, says, Blue, fill this out, a request, hollered over his shoulder, type out an LOA for this man. And this was all accomplished, signed, and believe it or not, we were out the door in less than 10 minutes with an LOA. Now, any of you guys understand what it takes nowadays to get the fuzz to let you fly these neat toys? You appreciate them. Long gone those days.
Randolph, you look so handsome in that uniform. It looks like you just stepped out of a 1011.
You and I both know that you can put a uniform on a cow and it's going to look pretty good. I'm living proof of that. Blue and I we've known each other for a lot of years, like everyone here. And he's hope no one takes offense, but I have to say he's probably one of my favorite pilots, particularly airline pilots. Most of us think because we can fly an airplane, we're pretty important people. Blue never acted like that. He was just a regular guy, and whenever I flew with him, it was only on search and rescue missions. I always felt completely at ease. And I think that's probably the highest tribute another pilot can give to another pilot. We'll miss you, Blue. Gonna miss you. Thanks, Brent. By the way, Brent, you're doing a wonderful job. You look good even without an airline pilot's uniform.
I think we'd like to have a little welcoming from our president of the association, Condors Squadron Officers and Airmen Association. Let's see if I can get him out here. He's just came off the flight, and I think he'd like to say a few words. Maybe I was a little premature. He's getting dressed. Change his pants. Apparently it was a rough flight out there. Oh, we have another candidate. Thank you, man.
I remember one Saturday, Rudy Perez and I and Jake, Blue was having his engine overhauled, and it had been down for a couple of months, and he was sort of in the dumps. So we decided that he should fly to Camarillo with us. So I put him in the front seat of my airplane, and we flew over there and had lunch. And he thanked me, and I said, it was all three of us got together and commandeered you. He said, okay, you fly us back. We had a nice lunch. And he thanked us all. Had to get him back in the air, that's all there was to it.
Well, my duty is that if nobody else would care to say anything, please grab a water. And I think we didn't. Have we followed the program pretty good? Anything else that we're missing here? Rob, you'd like to say a few words? Tell us how the flight went? Okay, we got a candidate here. Come on up, Rob. Tell us about that tough job you had.
And before Rob talks, I was just going to say that I was going to read something for Pat Napolitano. He's a longtime Condor member. He grew up with all these guys. I talked to him several times during the week, and he said that every time he sat down to write something, it was just too hard for him, so he actually didn't put something together. But I can say that for me, when I had the opportunity to get involved with the squadron, the obvious reason to get involved was the airplanes, flying formation, hanging out with the guys, kind of all the cool stuff. But really, for me, it was people like Blue, and it was the generation that they represented, the way that he carried himself, the respect he had for other people. And the world needs more people like that, and I'm just hoping they didn't break the mold. He's really going to be missed.
Another afterthought here from a member that wasn't able to attend, that got an email from Jim Sturwall, a QB and a Condor member, emailed us to tell us that he had some wonderful flights with Blue, flying his wing, and some search and rescue flights that they've had over the years. And he's sorry he couldn't be here. Jim Sturwall was one of the original Condor members with his dad, Jim Modes. Stand by. I think Rob would like to make a comment.
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming. You're probably looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm wearing a suit and tie, but which maybe I'm a little crazy. No, I'm just kidding. Blue and I are fellow airline guys. I'm an Alaska pilot, so we always used to chew the fat together and talk about airline stories and stuff like that. Anyway, Blue was a consummate gentleman, and he's someone that when we'd go to dinner, he'd wear a coat and tie, very respectful and just a class act through and through. And that's why I'm up here dressed like this, because I know that if I wasn't, he'd pull me aside and probably say something to me. But he's someone that I know we all love, and he's someone that I'm very particularly fond of. I don't think there's a nicer guy out there, and we really miss him. And the flight was awesome. Myself and Ed Carnahan were the missing man. The airplane that pulled up and went out. And we do that in honor of the fallen aviator. The spot in the formation signifies their position, and then the airplane heads west, as we say. We've gone west as a fallen aviator. So I hope you guys really enjoyed it. It was to say it was an honor is an understatement for me, just to be a part of this organization. It's a privilege to be able to do that for Blue. And I know Ed, one of his best friends, was in my back seat, and it was most emotional and coolest and best flight I've ever done. Anyway, thank you.
This is going to be tough. Blue was my best friend. When I first joined the squadron, all the planes were individually owned, and if you didn't own a plane, you hooked up with somebody who did, and I was Blue's backseater. You can't fly all the hours that we put in the air and not become one with each other. All the things that we went through and on the ground and in the air, it's incredible. I think back on it, and I miss him terribly. He had two sayings he used to always say to me. One was, "You can trust me," and he used to say it just like that. And the other was, "I think we'll be okay." Once we were pulling out of here on 1-6, and it was just me and him, no other planes. And we got over the flood control, and suddenly there was a loud bang, and the plane started shaking. The engine was shaking like it was going to come off the mounts. And Blue just, Mr. Cool, he just pulled the power back, told the tower, "We're coming back. We're going to land on 3-4. And that was that. We came around. We put it down, and as we were rolling out, he keyed the mic and said, I forgot all about you, man. Is everything okay back there?" And I just keyed back, "I think we're going to be okay." And he just laughed, and that was Blue. And like Rob said, he was the gentleman's gentleman. I never heard him swear. He never got mad, and he was the most patient person I've ever met. And he never complained. Even to the very end, he never complained once. And I'm going to miss him. He's up there flying number 2 slot right now on the right-hand side of the lead. And you know what, Blue? We're going to be okay.
There's one person in this organization that I insist we hear from, a person that keeps us going, kicks us in the butt when things need to be done. He's really the fabric of this organization. He's took over a tough job, and he's handled it marvelously. I'd like you all to give a large welcoming hand to Chris Rushing, who led this flight. Chris is the fabric of this organization that keeps us together.
Thanks, Pot. But I thought you were talking about Rick Martin, and he just took off. No, I appreciate the kind words. And, you know, we've come a long ways. During the flight briefing this morning, I did mention that Blue is actually the last of the founding fathers that were pilots, other than Clay Lacey. You know, but Clay did fly in the first flight. But Blue was here every Wednesday. You know, Mr. Lacey was real busy. He gets here as often as he can. But Blue was here every day, every Wednesday. And I say the best summer of my life was the summer that Blue taught me how to fly the T6. We spent the whole summer together. Some days it was hot, and poor Blue never complained. Just get in the back of the airplane, and I'd try to kill him, and he'd save it and save the airplane. And you know, that was our main goal, was just don't tear anything up. We didn't have a schedule, didn't have a certain time frame. It was just, you know, let's just go fly. And he knew the airplane very, very well. And I was really fortunate to be, I guess, his last student. I don't know if I was so bad that I ruined him that he never wanted to teach again, but I was real fortunate to be able to spend that summer with him. You know, I look at Blue as a general. I've been in the military my whole life. I've met a lot of colonels, a lot of generals. And there's two different kinds of generals. There's a general, probably like General Patton, who was, you know, he ruled with an iron fist, kept you marching. You know, you never get out of line. If you did, he'd really kick you in the butt. And there's another type of general who leads by example, who you want to emulate. And that was General Blue. If you wanted to be like somebody, that's who I always told. I said, watch that guy right there. That's who you want to be like. You want to emulate yourself to be like him. I never saw Blue get upset my whole life. He was always the same personality, the same guy, always had a different story, was so accurate in his stories. He could tell you names, dates, runway headings, and it was just amazing what the career that he had. And I feel real fortunate that I got to play a part of it. And I know Blue would be real proud of what we've done, along with Richard Sykes, Bob Richards, who we used to fly with. When I first started out flying, I'd fly with him, Bobby Richardson, Frank Elliott. We'd go off, and they taught me how to fly formation. So all those guys are gone now. So who's left? We got a bunch of new guys, a bunch of young guys that are eager, just like those guys were a long time ago. And I can't tell you how proud I am of these new guys that are coming up. And though those guys aren't around anymore, it's incumbent that us that are still around, that we instill what those guys did in us. That's somewhat my mission, I think, now, is to try to let those guys know what it used to be like. And you know, it comes with great sacrifice. Those family members that are here and girlfriends, that you know what a sacrifice it takes for your loved one to be participating in this place. This is a place that you just don't come and go. You just don't come and jump in this airplane and go fly a 10 ship once a year or once every 2 years. It takes dedication. And we have guys here now that are dedicated to the cause of the Condor Squadron. And I can tell you right now, I am so proud of each and every one of you, as I know Blue is too. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank each and every one of you and the family. I want you to know that what Blue did, the sacrifices that you did, that when Blue was gone on trips with the Condor Squadron, he flew with the airlines, but the time that he spent out here, his legacy is going to continue on. So thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing Blue with us. And he will never be forgotten. I promise you, he never will.
flying is that?
Champagne flight.
A champagne flight?
Western Airlines is the only way to fly.
Hey.
Oh, my. Western Airlines. The only way to fly. Oh, pizza. Bravissimo. Western Airlines. The only way to fly.
Western's the way to fly. Come join us in the sky. We'll show you why.